of them. They waterboarded them. Every damn person in the military academy was waterboarded. What a bunch of exaggerated crap that is for a terrorist that killed 3,000 people. And if you let him out, he'll start killing us again. And believe me, mark my words, they don't execute him, they'll let this guy out. Biden will let him out. He won't trade him. They'll go grab a few people that are worthless. Maybe they'll grab people that are very important and make it very tough. Suppose they grabbed 100 people and said, we're going to blow them all up unless you release Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. And he's around because we didn't execute him. You think Biden wouldn't give him up? He'd give him up for less than that. Biden didn't want to kill bin Laden. He's the only one in the Obama administration that didn't want to kill bin Laden. You don't think he'll let him out? Mark my words, he'll let him out. I'm not a great advocate of the death penalty. I've used it very, very sparingly, only where the evidence is unbelievably overwhelming. I don't want it on my conscience that an innocent man was executed. But when you commit the crime of the century, there's only one way we're going to deter people like this. And believe me, don't listen to these liberal idiots. The death penalty deters. Look what happened to kidnapping when we started the death penalty for kidnapping. I'm going to tell you something. Don't usually talk about this. I don't usually talk about September 11 or my experiences on September 11. But when I greeted President Bush when he came to New York, he came off the airplane, and I was with Governor Pataki, and Governor Pataki was first, and I was second online, and the president came down and talked to George and said very comforting things, and then he came over to me and he said something like, you're handling it so well, you're handling it brilliantly, something like that. It was very complimentary. And then he said, what can I do for you? And it just came out. I had prepared to say, well, you've done everything we've asked. I couldn't ask for more. And he had. In 3 days, we had basically gotten the federal government. And they came to work for me and for Pataki. They put themselves under us. FEMA, we got to run it. He said, you guys know the city and the state. You run it. I said once that, to me, Bush, 43, always be a great president because of the way he reacted to September 11th. And the criticism he took for it, completely unjustified. Of course, they had to put him on Air Force One. We couldn't lose the president at a time like that. And we had no idea what the extent of that attack was going to be. And of course, the press. Biden, they probably put him in a basement and lock him there for about 3 weeks. Maybe he'd go to the beach. He sure wouldn't know what to do. He doesn't know. He doesn't know how to. He doesn't know what direction to walk in. How can he guide this nation if we, God forbid, had a terrorist attack? Can you imagine? Would a demented leader? Well, thank God we had a leader. I said to President Bush when he said, "What can I do for you?" I said, when you catch bin Laden, I want to be the one to execute him. And I actually didn't plan to say it. Some ways I was even a little embarrassed that I said it to the president. And he hugged me, grabbed me, and there's a picture of it. He grabbed the back of my head. He didn't say anything. He just went like that. I probably figured I was overreacting or something. I wasn't. I think maybe I meant as a lawyer, I wanted a prosecutor. I wanted him to designate me the prosecutor because I had never lost a case as a prosecutor. And I knew I wasn't going to lose this one. And of course, we would go for the death penalty. I could have meant I wanted to pull the switch. I could have, because I was so angry. When I watched that, I mean, for days, I would go down there, and after I finished my duties and responsibilities, I just stand there. Part of it, I was in shock. And part of it, I was so angry at these people. The innocent life that was taken. And all the euphemisms. They did it because they hate America. They did it because their Islamic extremist ideology teaches them to kill us. And then we went through the Obama Biden administration where we couldn't use the word Islamic terrorist. It's like not being able to use the word Nazis when you're fighting the Germans. And that's why Trump came into a terrible situation with ISIS. Obama and Biden let them rebuild. Remember, ISIS was the JV. That's what the pretend intelligent president said, because it's pretend. It's all pretend with them. You ever hear how many times he goes when he talks, when he doesn't have the damn teleprompter in front of him? Exaggerated intellect. Very exaggerated.
Mayor, look, I have a short clip. You're not going to like this. I'd like to play it. Yeah, it's from the evening of September 11th.
Yeah, we'll play this one piece to show you the enormity of what they did to us, and why these people should be tried. They shouldn't make a deal with these people. And you know what they're saying? They sent letters around to the families to ask their reaction. What a cruel thing to do to start with. But second, they have to have a trial to get the evidence out. We want to know what happened. The American people are entitled to it. Maybe the military can't handle this. Gosh almighty, they certainly mishandled it. And if this is being held up because this guy was tortured, you tell me how bad was the torture. Look at the fat pig.
That's right. So
he's living better. He's living better in Guantanamo than he ever lived in those damn caves. You think these guys? No, never mind. Probably get myself in trouble.
I know that there's great concern over what the numbers of people lost are. We don't know the answer to that. The dimension will be very large. In terms of the people we're looking for, it's a couple of hundred firefighters and police officers, which is a staggering number. As far as the number of people in the building, that'll be in the thousands. But there's no way of knowing at this point, and we're going to keep praying and hoping that we save as many people as possible.
Mr. Mayor, there are reports that there are a group of...
So, please write to the White House. Tell him not to do it. Now, he's doing the military gets to make the decision. Hard though it is to believe when you listen to him and look at him going up the steps and falling in front of the Air Force cadets and not being able to remember Maui the other day, where he's going. Oh, we're going that island that's on the television. He's the commander-in-chief. He orders the military. If he says no plea, it's not a military decision. The military, we have what is known as civilian control of the military in this country. The president is the singular executive. We call a unitary executive. Everyone has delegation from the president. Why do you think military officers are given a commission? Who commissions them, ladies and gentlemen? Hey, moron, you commission them. Don't give me this. The military is going to let them off. You can reverse that decision like you reversed every decision of Trump's. Every single one. Put our country in a terrible situation where people are making less than they made when Trump was in office based on inflation, 7-8% less. Things cost 12 to 15% more, even not considering inflation. Gasoline's going up again. You say you brought it down. No, you didn't. You brought it down from the high that you created. You're still 70% higher than Trump. You're killing us, Biden. Literally and figuratively, you're killing Americans. Don't let this guy out. You are the singular person who can decide that this guy doesn't get out and that this guy gets executed. I know you didn't want to execute bin Laden. That's your perversity. You represent us. God Almighty, if you represent that crazy mind that you have, what the hell do we elect you? I think I know. It'll come out. In due time, it will all come out. Last night, we showed you the chart, right? So far, Trump and I haven't led you wrong one time, and they have lied to you 3-4 times. Major, massive lies.
That's right. That's right. As the mayor said, Joe Biden at the time weighed in against the raid that killed bin Laden.
Oh, he'll lie about it now, even though it's on tape. Well, Joe, I got another thing to tell you. Don't interrupt your vacation to go to Hawaii. They don't want you there. You read the papers today. Every person questions it's too late. What the hell are you coming for? I mean, this. What are you going now for? Show them my cartoon there. I didn't do this cartoon. It's from the New York Post.
Put up forget her too. That's funny.
There you go. This could, I mean, you could put almost anything else there, like Ukraine or American economy, justice, fairness, decency, morality, children being persuaded in school to change their gender, on which your attorney general's son-in-law is making a fortune, crook. First of all, the only thing wrong with this is that guy couldn't play the violin. I know him. I know Joe Biden for 35 years, long before this all happened. And when I liked him, kind of, I used to tell people, oh, he's not a bad guy. He is the dumbest son of a you've ever met. I swear to God, they don't exaggerate that he's the dumbest man in the Senate. That is not a joke. Gone. It wasn't a lot. He displays it every day, and there isn't a person in Washington with the guts to stand up and say, get him the hell out. I don't think I could tolerate this if I were in Washington. I couldn't watch my prep. I mean, I know the guy's got to go back there and make decisions that affect the lives of, millions of people. And we got a guy that, he doesn't have any brains left. Okay, we can call it what it is. It's dementia. And it's progressing very fast. And he displays it 3-4 times a day, and the press covers it up. They're disgraceful. Don't they have any love for their country? Just a little bit. A little bit of patriotism. Oh, it's any bit. Just enough to have the guts to say, out. There's a constitutional process for it. Let's follow it. You don't think we could get doctors to say he's not mentally capable of doing the job? Oh, you could get a lot of doctors, as long as you offer them protection against being prosecuted by Fannie Willis. She'd probably do a RICO case against the doctors. She doesn't even know. I don't even think she knows what the RICO statute is. You know how many mistakes she made in that indictment? Do you know how she made it so much more possible to remove the case? Because she's so damn stupid, she didn't bother to read 28 USC 1442. I had that in my file for 4 weeks. Said nothing about it because I didn't want to alert her. Because she could have tailored the indictment to make it more difficult to remove the case. One example, I'll just give you one. I mean, it's over now, so it doesn't matter. She didn't have to put in all those other places. The minute she puts in all those other places, it becomes more of a federal case. Makes it an easier argument. Now, not critical. Probably could have won the argument anyway. She just made it easier. The job of a lawyer is to help your client, not to hurt your client. And the client's objective here is to unfairly prosecute and convict innocent men and women. Well, she made it more difficult to successfully prosecute innocent men and women. And it's an outrage that the left wing in this country and the media and stands by and watches this. watches the former president of the United States have to go into a jail that the federal government finds inhumane and indecent. Of course, it's a crooked city. Is there anybody with common sense in Washington? And is there anybody with guts? And why are we taking so long impeaching him? It's critical. I mean, every day it's a new atrocity, like death penalty. You know, Trump refused to do that. And when Trump was the president, he actually knew he was the commander in chief. He even knew where he was. And we were better in every respect. I don't care if you like him, you don't like him, whatever. There isn't a single respect in which this country is better off now than it was. In fact, in every respect, it's much worse off. And in some places, some areas, it's catastrophic. She said she doesn't want Biden to visit. We haven't had federal support. We've had local support, not federal. Bowman slammed FEMA. Where's the press now? Remember what they did to Bush over Katrina? I think this is worse than Katrina. It is worse in terms of federal inaction. You could say that things didn't work that they tried at the beginning. But I mean, and to a large extent, the handling of an emergency like this, a president is not the critical player. The mayor, the county executive, and the governor are the critical players. The closer to the event, the bigger impact you're going to have on it. The further away you are, the more of a supporting role you play. So the real catastrophe in Katrina is kind of a situation like we have in New York like right now. The governor and the mayor hated each other. They don't even talk to each other on the phone. And the mayor was half a nut and the other half a crook. In fact, he took 4 days off to rest, kind of like Biden, while his city was getting destroyed. Then he went to jail for something or other. I don't know. Kind of like it. They like it. You know, it's like Atlanta, crooked as hell. We haven't had federal support. She slammed the FEMA for its strict bureaucracy that was causing tension on the island, with the accountant seeing all the claims backed up, all the help backed up, disaster funding backed up, insurance being delayed because of FEMA inaction. That's all the federal government. That's what he can contribute. She's telling you he screwed it up. Well, did you expect that he wouldn't? This is the guy that got Americans killed leaving Afghanistan. They never had to be killed. This is the guy, when their bodies came back, was looking at his wristwatch. This is the guy who told the families then and now that he can feel their pain because his son was killed in action. And every one of them knows that he was lying to them. And we can't wait until 2024 election to get rid of him. He should be removed, either for incompetency, mental incompetency, because he is the biggest criminal to hold that office ever. And he's a 30-year career criminal. You want to do a real racketeering case? The Biden family is a real racketeering case. The racketeer influence corrupt organization statute was meant for long-term criminal organizations that act like businesses, hardly applicable to an election dispute for a few months. Definitely applicable to a crime family that's been taking bribes since the 1970s.
Mayor, an interesting fact I just read about the Hawaii federal aid. They might not even get it because Biden is trying to slip in 24 billion more to Ukraine in the same package for Hawaii.
Well, how much is he giving Hawaii as compared
He only
to
wants to give them 12 billion, but
Yeah.
he wants to give Ukraine 24 billion.
It's $720 a person. What are they going to do with $720?
Nothing. What are they going to do with that?
He's given Ukraine 114 billion.
Right.
Yeah.
And 24 more he wants to give them.
So I'm going to go back over the 5 billion in foreign aid that in 2017 Ukraine couldn't account for. I said 5 billion. And then the Biden administration, State Department, told them they didn't have to bother. They were actually trying to do an accounting, probably come up with some phony explanations and whatever. And then they got a visit. They were told that President Obama didn't want it. You know, when you look at a lot of it, you know where a lot of it went? It went to NGOs, non-government organizations. They're almost all communist, and many of them are controlled by Soros. They stole a lot of the money. In fact, they did a revision of the prosecutor's office in Kyiv, and the money went to some organization in Italy. They're going to really be able to reorganize the prosecutor's office. But every single bit of that money, it was about 3 of the 5 billion, you could see the hands of what will turn out to be the second most corrupt administration in history. Because as this Biden thing unravels, you're going to find out how crooked the Obama administration was. In fact, this couldn't have gone on without Obama knowing about it. This guy couldn't have been selling himself to Zlochevsky. Not only did they know about it, they covered it up.
Since 2014, the United States has provided more than $45.4 billion in security assistance for training and equipment to help Ukraine preserve its territorial integrity, secure its borders, not our border, their borders, and improve interoperability with NATO, which they aren't even a part of NATO. So there you go, Mayor.
Well, and recently, 114 billion.
Well, yeah. Well, this is right.
And what
this is
pennies?
prior.
Pennies for Hawaii.
Well, what about our border as well? They don't give a exactly.
What border?
Exactly.
We haven't had a border in 3 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So we can talk about that too. I mean, when I see these 100,000 illegal migrants in New York, you're not allowed to call illegal, and I see Adams and the governor at war over it, I don't blame the governor for going crazy. They wouldn't be here if Adams didn't invite them. Now, they wouldn't be here if Biden didn't let them in, but they weren't coming to New York before we got Adams, who I think even when he was running said, we're a sanctuary. We're going to be the best sanctuary. We're the Uber sanctuary city. We're the best sanctuary city. Oh, every other places will help you, but we'll give you residence. We'll give you health insurance. We'll give you an education, even college. We'll give you COVID money. We'll give you better accommodations than we give to veterans or to our homeless people. Now we're taking kids' gymnasiums, football fields, soccer fields, a psychiatric institute in the middle of a residential area. Now, please understand, stop the romance about migrant. Whatever the migrants of the past were, this is a different group of people. I know a lot about the migrants of the past. I supervised the Immigration Service right after the Mariel boat lift and the Haitian invasion. I know what the illegal immigrants of the 80s were like. There were some problems, some serious problems, but they were, by and large, they were actually as law-abiding, possibly more law-abiding than our Native Americans in terms of breaking the laws that I was having to enforce as the mayor. They were the least of my problems, as long as they were dealt with sensibly. And you put the focus on the criminal ones and pushed INS to get rid of them, which you always had to do. What this guy did is invite them in, except he's so stupid, He didn't realize he's got a much different type of immigrant now. Since we don't have border enforcement, we don't vet anybody. At least then we tried to vet them. But they are vetted. They're vetted by Mexican cartels, which completely surround the Mexican side of the border. Watch it like a hawk and make a fortune from it. That's how they get fentanyl into the United States. That's why we've had record years under Biden of people dying of fentanyl. Just one of the ways in which he kills Americans and makes China rich. China must be happy as hell. They're getting their money's worth. That's the way child trafficking. That's why they went crazy over that movie. That's why all the left-wing, silly, stupid Hollywood people and media people and who the hell knows what they are, and perverted ones, why they went crazy over the movie that basically was a truthful rendition of a child trafficking ring, of which there are thousands, right? Largely controlled now by the Mexican cartels. So when you see the people coming into your neighborhood, they were checked out. They were checked out by criminals. Doesn't mean they're all criminals. It does mean there are a disproportionate number of them that are, though, compared to in the past. I mean, who was telling me this? I think it was Curtis Slewer. He reminded me of the fact that the county executive up in Buffalo, the Erie County where Buffalo is, had agreed with Mayor Adams to take some of the migrants, which was really nice of him because they didn't invite them to their cities. He did. Now he's trying to offload them to suburban counties. Well, as you might imagine, the Republican county executives are telling them to go to hell. They didn't invite these people here. He did. If you didn't open your big mouth, they wouldn't be here in that number. But the guy, I think the guy in Erie County must be a Democrat. I can't imagine he's a Republican. Why the hell would he take them? He took them and he sent them back right away. Within a day, there were two major incidents and then several rapes by the migrants vetted by the cartels, and we can't call them illegal migrants. Like hell, we can't. They are illegal. When they crossed that border, they broke the law. Now, you're going to say they made a claim of asylum. First of all, I'm not even sure they did. When I listen to them explain why they're here, they forget to say they're fleeing persecution, political persecution, or they are in fear of being persecuted politically if they go back. That's the standard for refugee status. And all of them are kind of like on bail. But it's like a joke. They come in, the cartels tell them to say the magic words. We're handcuffed because of that. Well, we want to handcuff ourselves because of that. And then we give them a date to show up for hearing a year from now, 2 years from now. Some of them are 5 years from now. What are they going to do then during that period of time? They're going to get lost in America. Of the ones that show up, less than 10% succeed in making out a legitimate asylum claim. So you can imagine the ones that don't show up, it'd probably be 2%. It's a joke to think that they're asylees.
It's ultralight.
And when you look at the crimes they commit, so you know what the Democratic executive of Erie County did? He put them all back on the bus to Adams and sent them back.
He is Democratic.
I'm sure he's a Democrat because he wouldn't have been that stupid as to take him in the first place if he wasn't a Democrat. They are destroying our country. This is a Democrat Party position, open borders. They've been fighting for this for 3 or 4 years, 5 years. This is why Trump couldn't get immigration reform through. He actually brought the numbers down. He brought the fentanyl numbers in particular down for 2 years. We were going on the right track with fentanyl. We even got the Mexican government to cooperate with us. Quite a feat, since the president of Mexico is an avowed communist. I know it. I work with him. I know him when he was mayor of Mexico City. He liked me because I brought crime down. And I got thrown out because Bernie and I were successful. And the opposition party got rid of us after we brought crime down by 12% and 8%. And I got to tell you one thing about the president of Mexico. He has a legitimate desire to have a safe country, but he has no help now. He is a hostage of the cartels because the U.S. is not fighting them. I think I don't know. I don't know if Biden got money from them too, but he doesn't put up any fight against them. I mean, DEA should be all over them, like we were all over the Colombian cartels. I was part of that. I have two contracts to kill me, two contracts to kill me from the Colombians. One of them is specifically to cut my throat, as an example. I said, if the mafia couldn't do it, you can't do it. Screw you. Same way that I feel about Fannie Willis. Go screw yourself, Fannie. You're not getting me, baby. I didn't do anything. You're the criminal. I'm the legitimate guy fighting for justice. You look at that board that we had last night. You tell me when I lied to you. I told you the truth about Russian collusion. They lied. I told you the truth about the Ukraine. In fact, you only have about a third of it right now. Everything coming out. If I laugh. I put most of this out 3 years ago. Got crucified for it. I loved it. I was helping my country. I tried real hard to keep this guy out of the White House because I knew he was going to be terrible. I knew he was going to be unpatriotic. I knew he was going to be bad for the country. I knew he hated the country somehow for some sick, perverted reason. You don't keep calling us systemically racist and do all the things like give up the Bagram Air Base, don't deal with fentanyl. You don't do that if you don't hate the country. And then I started to realize he's demented. Even during the campaign, when he couldn't, he thought that Roosevelt was on television reading the comics. Roosevelt was dead before we had television. The guy reading the comics from a guy almost his age, but who has a brain, was Fiorello LaGuardia. And it was on radio. And you know why I know that? In the house that I had for 8 years as mayor, they kept the place where he did the radio broadcast, right in the parlor. He used to hook it up like I do right here when I do my broadcast at home. He used to hook it up, and on Sunday morning, he used to read the comics because there was a newspaper strike. And then he enjoyed doing it. And I would say he was the legendary mayor of New York, Fiorello LaGuardia, for whom the airport is named. But see up here in this little section here, there was never very much, but this is big. Now it's like that. Look, he's pulling his cheek. You watch him walk. I mean, it's like an adventure. Is he going to make the next step? It's sad for us. I mean, people say, oh, I feel sorry. I don't feel sorry for him. He's inflicted himself on us. And his family, man, whoa. Now, what about the use of aliases? People wanted to know. Of course I knew about it. I keep telling you, there's a lot more. There's a lot more. I'm not going to say it's the tip of the iceberg. We're at 30, 40 million. I can get to 50 with the hard drive. When it goes over 50, I'm going to then be surprised. But I think it is. It might reach almost 100 million that he took in bribes. And right now he's getting away with it. What the hell's wrong with us? Well, shall we take a short break for QUX for QUX.
The year is 2022. Cancel culture is the new normal. Online freedom as we know it has ended. Digital stockades are here. All activity is monitored, stored, and predictively analyzed by a technological cartel. We're being converted into a digital resource, a digital currency to be farmed for metadata and loaded into a computerized combine, blockchained to a social engineering operating system. However, it doesn't have to be this way. Be part of a new technological revolution. Right now, 1,000 test pilots have launched themselves into a new digital frontier, a private network outside of big tech control. New technology with state-of-the-art digital engagement and never-done-before security and privacy features that are now operational. With Quick's digital engagement, entertainment, communication, and commercial exchange will never be the same. We are QUX. Quicks. Advanced pre-release sales are limited to 3,000. Order now by visiting quicks.tv. Get yours now before they sell out. Be part of a brand new online experience that you control.
Well, we're back. QUX.TV. Is that it? Yes, QUX.TV, code Rudy. You'll see how much money you save. If you haven't read the article in the Wall Street Journal several days ago, you should get it online. It shows you how the prices for all those services are going way up. Already have and predicted to go up 25 to 30% more in the next year. I think I would buy into QUX, boy. They'll keep those prices down. And tell them, Mike, about the security.
Oh, yes. You're encrypted. Other cable companies like to sell your information. QUX guarantees that your information will not be sold and it will be encrypted. And the best part is you can watch America's Mayor Live every night at 8 o'clock on QUX TV.
You can, right on your TV right there. And
that's right.
If you want, you could do a little broadcasting of your own.
Of course.
Content.
Now,
that's right.
Remember, some of these companies, they're selling it to China.
And also you'll
I mean,
save.
a lot of them are cave-ins to China. You know that.
Don't forget, Mayor, how much money people will save as well.
God, I mean, you could get thrown off some of them if you criticize China. Oh, God forbid, criticize a country that's killed a communist party that's killed 80 million people and is now trying to wipe out several different groups of people. The Uyghurs are talked about, but the Falun Gong, well, they don't just want to wipe them out. They're pulling their organs out and selling them. Has Joe ever said a bad word about China?
Loves China.
He can't. You haven't figured out yet they own him? I mean, how much money do we have to show he took from them to show that he's a traitor? What damaging thing does he have to do to the United States that helps China, that proves there's a quid pro quo for the money that he got? What president ever got, I don't know, what's the current count up to that they're I know it's over 30 million. So you can trust me, if it isn't at 30 million yet, it will get there. I think it's at about 18 million now. What president ever got that kind of money from a foreign country that's an adversary of the United States? I don't know if president ever got that kind of money from anybody. I can't imagine we had a president that's taken 40, 50 million in bribes. Do you realize historically what this is going to mean? This is not going to be permanently covered up. Enough of it has gotten out now that it'll keep coming out. Just the way everybody was on the other side of Russian collusion. And if you said there was no Russian collusion, you were like crazy or a traitor or something. Same thing's going to happen with all of this. Same thing's going to happen with the election. So do we have, all right, well, when he called, we can get a call from Commissioner Carrick to say a few words about the terrorists who apparently Biden wants to spare from the death penalty. For what reason, I don't know. It could be the same reason he didn't want to kill bin Laden. I don't think he got money from them. I'm not accusing him of that. That's usually the reason why he makes decisions against the best interest of the United States. And even if you're liberals, you can't tell me I'm wrong. You keep those guys alive, he'll eventually trade them. And like the ones that Obama let go, some of them will come back and kill Americans. You voted for them, I didn't. So now I am taking my balance of nature, my fruits, my veggies, Ted will tell you that I had to take him late today because I forgot this morning to take him. But
Both of us. That makes two of us.
believe me, Ted couldn't keep up with me if he didn't take him. Gives you a lot of energy.
It's great. It's great. And they pack so many fruits and vegetables and everything that comes with those fruits and vegetables into those little pills. And as the mayor says, the packaging is great.
Okay, now we're going to have a little roundtable discussion. It looks like Alec Baldwin, who somehow I get indicted and Alec Baldwin shoots a gun and kills somebody and doesn't get indicted. I can't figure it out.
Well, isn't
I
it
didn't do
obvious?
anything except defend my client.
Well, I heard it's coming back on him now because they did an.
Oh, well, yeah,
analysis,
they did a test. I didn't know you could do a test like this.
Yeah.
They did it. Alec Baldwin said he didn't press the trigger. A gun went off by itself.
Yeah,
They did a test determining that the trigger was pressed.
of course.
And he's the only one, he was the last one who had the gun before it went into the poor woman and killed her.
They need a team of.
Well,
forensic
Mayor,
investigators.
Why is he lying like that?
Well,
I mean,
he doesn't want to go to jail.
look, I when it happened, when it happened before we heard anything, I don't like Alec Baldwin, but I don't think he's a killer or a murderer.
Right.
I don't think he did this on purpose.
oh gosh, I can't. Yeah.
I mean, you have to be able to, first of all, I never assume somebody's a murderer. You got to prove it to me. And when this happened, I actually said, this sounds like an accident. And I do know him a little. I was on the board of the Grand Havana room with him.
But he's got immunity because
He's a left winger.
he makes fun of Trump on Saturday Night Live, right?
How did they not indict him the first time? They
might-
dropped the case
Yeah.
Well,
because he said he didn't pull the trigger. I mean, this woman indicts people for exercising their First Amendment rights.
Right.
This guy shoots and kills a woman negligently. Now, you shouldn't get indicted for that. You shouldn't get indicted for murder. I don't know. Maybe you don't even go to prison, or maybe you go to prison for a short period. But you should get indicted for negligent homicide. He pulled that trigger.
Mm-hmm.
The gun, I mean, did the prosecutor really believe it went off by itself?
I thought he put the blame on the prop woman who was also moonlighting as the.
But then she couldn't
ammo.
have pulled the trigger.
They have
No.
a name for those people.
He's blaming her.
Oh, she set up the gun.
Yeah,
So
he's
that,
blaming her
there's-
for setting up
but
the
she-
gun
but-
with a live round.
but he was a producer on the show, so there's an argument
the
that he's
safety-
liable for
the
the
safety-
safety of the set.
the safety wasn't on the gun,
Yes, but
and it should have been.
he-
So he's
but-
blaming her for that.
yes, but she
Okay.
could then blame him.
Well, I think
because-
she does. But in any event, let's say he's telling the truth about that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He still pulled the trigger.
he also was
Right.
pointing it at the camera like
He
an
pulled the
idiot.
trigger, but does
Yeah.
an actor have can they reasonably believe that a gun that's in their possession on the
A
set
lot of
a
actors,
movie
and I don't know.
is
I'm not
is a
except
toy, is a
except
toy.
for I should have gotten an Oscar for my role in anger management. I
I
didn't. I was
definitely-
cheated because I'm a conservative. But except for my
Everyone's
role
saying
there
that.
and-
That's what
and,
everybody's saying.
also several other movies and mean, I've had
You've had
I've had
multiple Oscar.
Yeah, I've had a
appearances.
really very distinguished acting career. I'm never on screen for more than 3 minutes. I thought I should have gotten the award for the
Well.
best actor in the smallest role of the year.
Well, you don't just give it away when you're the best. You don't just, come on.
Well,
you give a little taste here.
Cuomo got an Emmy for having press conferences. I did better press conferences than Cuomo.
I like the
First of all, nobody ever laughed at Cuomo's press conference. He had no sense of humor. I used to make people laugh at my press
Well,
conference.
Mayor, you
They
also,
hated
well,
me,
we
but I
don't-
made
you
them
also
laugh.
didn't kill 15,000 elderly people and lie about it like he did.
Oh, because I got big contributions from the nursing homes? They can't figure that
Yeah.
out either.
Yeah.
I cannot believe how stupid. For 3 years, people are trying to figure out, why did Hunter Biden get all the money? Why did Ukraine give him 8 million and China put 1.5 billion in his private equity fund where he was a partner with Whitey Bulger's nephew? Why did Kazakhstan give him all those millions? Why did Moscow give him 3.5 million? You can't figure it out. Would it help if I told you at the time his father was the vice president of the United States? Would that help you to figure it out? Would you have a hard time saying that at least creates a massive suspicion that the money was intended as a bribe and it should be investigated for the benefit of our country?
Wow.
They are. They have no love or caring for this country. You have to resist the overwhelming power of logic not to figure out that this was bribery the first minute you hear about it. And now there's proof this high. Well, we have Commissioner Carrick.
Yes, let me get him on the line, Mayor. 1 second.
Bernie, as you know, was the commissioner during the September 11 attack, for which he was knighted and given many, many awards, all of which were deserved. As I often said, everything, all the acclaim that I got came about because I was resting on the shoulders of giants, and he was one of the giants I was resting on his shoulders. But Bernie, is it really possible they're going to do a plea deal with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed? And how does that happen?
The only way it happens is if it comes from the top. It has to come from the White House.
Yeah.
And this is something that nobody would ever imagine. With the damage, the devastation, the destruction that it did to the country, it's mind-boggling that they would even consider this.
Well, I mean, isn't it just another one of those things where we wake up in the morning and sometimes I call you or you call me and say, I can't believe this just happened. I mean, Biden has done maybe 20 of those things.
Well, I was just going to say that seems to happen a lot in this administration, but this is something that, for me, I think for you, for the people of New York City, the people of Washington, D.C., the military that responded in the aftermath of the attack on the city, this is something extremely personal to us, and it's mind-boggling. I mean, I would never ever have thought that they would even consider this, that they would talk about it, let alone do it.
I think unless you're an idiot, you now realize that this guy was a major bribe taker. That money was not going to Hunter Biden. The proof is there. They're just resisting it because they're crooked. But I always thought he had some kind of caring for this country. But I think the guy hates us. I think he hates America. How could you?
You know what, Mayor? I'm going to tell you something. I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. But I also think that he is actually not running the White House.
Yeah.
I think it's, maybe it's his chief of staff, directed, and, somebody from the Obama administration is pulling the strings, but he himself is not the chief executive. This is a guy that can't find his way off a stage. You can't, you know,
I
he
know.
can't read a speech without reading, you know, the end of the speech and who wrote it. You know, he is not the person making the final decision in these cases.
Think
And I
it's
always
Obama?
wonder who is.
Think it's Obama?
I think it's somebody. Listen, Obama once said he'd like to stay in the basement, you know, and oversee everything, you know, in the next administration or in another administration or something to that
Yeah,
extent.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he's got what he wanted. Yeah.
So it's, but this is an attack on everybody that lived through September 11th, and it sends one hell of a message to Al Qaeda, to the radical Islamic movement. You can do whatever you want because you're not going to be held accountable by this administration.
Yeah, and you know, the last couple of years, particularly the last year, we've let a lot more of them in because of the open border. And they've always worked closely with the Mexican cartels. But I think they've got a much bigger opening now. If you just look at the ones that have been intercepted, that number is up like 200%. So you
Well,
figure
that's the
if
ones
that's
that-
up
that- right.
200%, the others up. For every one
That's-
that gets intercepted, there are probably two others that we never see.
I'd say more. I'd
Okay,
say for
good.
every one that gets intercepted, I'd say there's 3 to 5 that get in. And if that's the case, you know, the country is loaded right now
Yeah, I
with
mean,
people that basically despise us.
nobody knows these groups as well as you do. They'd be crazy not to take advantage of this.
They will. They will. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. They'll sit back and they wait. The one thing they do really well is they wait, they feel us out, they look for their targets, and then they act. You know, they've done this for years. There were strategies behind them. It took time. And 9/11, it took time.
Yep.
It took a lot of time. It took training. They waited until the time was right and they acted.
Well, Bernie, thank you very, very much. We'll be talking very soon. Bernie,
Thanks, man.
Bernie is just, thank God we had him. Thank God we have him, but thank God we had him at that. Probably only I really know how valuable he was and how courageous. And I mean, a lot of people know it, but I think I really know it. God, I was there with him. So let's listen to something uplifting, and that's the Tunnel to Towers. And this is the appropriate time to send your money in. Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Well, I hope you're going to take advantage of sending in your monthly contribution to Tunnel to Towers .com. Let's get it in right now. This is a perfect time to do it. And if you want to exceed the per month amount, which they've kept at, what, at 11?
I think it's $11, yes, Mayor.
At $11. Sometimes I think it's 12. I want to raise it because of inflation. Is that even an inflationary increase? I got to talk to Frank. But you always can send in more. You're going to feel better. The more you send in, the better you're going to feel. Well, I must say, this has been a heck of a week. I know this is Thursday. You know, it feels like it's Friday. Wow. I mean, and this last one by Biden was a kick in the head. The phony indictment by Fannie Willis was expected, although, hey, it's never nice being indicted, particularly when you dedicated your life to law and order and value our justice system in a very, very special way, which I do. And I think honor it by my service, including my service for Donald Trump. Whatever you think, whether you think he's guilty or innocent, and he's innocent, or whatever you think of him personally, he's entitled to a very aggressive defense. That miserable animal gets a very effective defense, and nobody is condemning his lawyer for doing it. And his lawyer is defending a guy that killed about 3,000 people. I was defending a president of the United States. And I had to leave my law firm. They suspended me as a lawyer. And now they want to put me in jail for 10 years. This is America? This is why he says he's fighting this for you. This could happen to you. It is happening to you. If you're one of those people that was within 10 miles of the Capitol on January 6th, they're coming to arrest you so they can blame it on you and not the FBI agents that were inside.
Well, Mayor, a little good news today from, Georgia. Fannie might be getting impeached for her mishandling of the case that came out. So that's good.
Oh, you mean the phony
Yes.
excuse about the
Yes.
leak of the indictment?
A senator from Georgia who actually has a backbone, that's a Republican, that is not a rhino, is leading the
Well,
impeachment
the governor
effort.
will probably stop it.
Most likely,
The
but
governor is in cahoots with him.
at least we're trying.
I don't know how the hell he got himself reelected. Republicans there must be drinking something. I mean, that guy is and up to his eyeballs in all of this. I think I went through with you the other night the report that was sitting in Rassenberger's desk with statements like there was no chain of custody for any of the ballots. The procedures were chaotic. He had this all hidden for a year and a half while he was protesting how well executed the election was. Because he's a damn liar in cahoots with the Democrats. They're both in cahoots with all the crazy procedures they set up for that election. In fact, it's an agreement that they made that brought about the illegal changes in the voting rules, which is why Kemp and Rassenberger were covering up so much. And here they get praised by the Wall Street Journal as heroes. Heroes. I told you, the guy was hiding a report that should have been made public immediately. And believe me, in time, plenty more will come out. I just warn you, these guys are very far from heroes. Very, very far from heroes. I have to say, Kemp is a pretty good con man, the way he got himself reelected. The rest remains to be seen or proven. And I will say nothing until it can be put out publicly and proven. But when they tell you this was a straight election, complete lie, and they know it. So there was an excellent article today about Bidenomics, because Biden is going around telling the American people things are perfect, things are wonderful, the economy is great, and so is Senator Schumer. He says that economy is great, except 67% of the American people don't think so. 67% of the American people here are well informed.
Where's Chuck Schumer in the migrant crisis, by the way? He's been invisible, Mayor. I haven't heard his name, haven't seen him.
Where is he in defending Israel?
Oh, that as well. I know that he definitely doesn't like Israel.
He used to.
For loving cameras so much, we sure don't know where he's.
Yeah, he's
where is he on these
invisible.
actual issues?
Yeah, he's not showing up on Sunday mornings anymore.
No,
like he is.
no.
I haven't seen him anywhere, but
No.
all of a sudden lately he's on everywhere.
Oh, that's because the economy is doing so well.
Yes, yeah.
With 67% of the American people saying that they don't trust the president on the economy.
Somebody sent
So Stephen Moore, who is an excellent economist, laid out 5 glaring lies about the economy that Biden relies on to tell you that you're doing well when you're not. First, he says that wages and salaries are rising for American workers. Well, the average family income is down by roughly $5,000 since Biden entered office. And that has to be significantly increased because of inflation. The inflation rate for essentials like food, energy, and mortgage payments, rent, and utility is up by at least 25%. The overall inflation rate is up 15%. And that is accounting, obviously, for inflation, because you have to with an inflation rate. So the idea that the wages, real wages, are up is a lie. They're down. People are making less money now than they were when Trump was president. And they are spending, the average family is spending $709 more for necessary things per person. Under Biden. Biden has created more jobs than any other modern president. Absolutely untrue. 2/3 of the jobs that he created were jobs that existed before the pandemic. Most of which were created actually under Trump. And only 1/3 are new jobs, which would make him one of the lowest producers of jobs of any American president. Trump produced 40,000 jobs per month higher than Biden. And by the way, Trump began the rebound from pandemic in the last 2 months when he was in office and left him in an economy that was rising. But remember, when he says I created more jobs, he did not. He didn't create the jobs. The people came back to work after the pandemic, 2/3 of the jobs that he's taking credit for. Plus, he increased the people that are out of the workforce. They're up to well over 10 million now, highest ever. People just don't work anymore. We don't even count them. They don't work. That's a Biden phenomenon because he continued to pay them more for not working than working. He also did away with workfare, which I happen to have helped to create. America is producing record amounts of oil and gas. This is such a big lie. He cut off almost all of it. And if Trump had remained in office and his policies hadn't been reversed, we would be producing 2 million more barrels of oil a day than we presently are doing. And we would be energy independent. And oil is up to $80 a barrel, which is much higher than under Trump. It's costing the American economy $160 million more a day than when Trump was in office. So that's a complete lie, just a bald-faced lie, just like wages and salaries are up.
They must just conduct.
And the reason you know it's a lie is the American people, I mean, somehow, you can lie to them about Biden being a crook and hide it from them. Maybe half the American people get to hear it because they listen to me or Greg Kelly or Newsmax or ABC or whatever. But the other half don't even know it But you can't fool them when they go to the grocery store, right? So liars like Schumer and Biden are going to tell them the economy is the best ever, and they go in there and they say, "My God, I used to pay half of this." Maybe they exaggerated a little, but when they get hit like that, I've heard people tell me that I'm paying double the amount that I used to pay. Now you can't lie to them when they got to go into their pocket and take the money out, and that's why his numbers on the economy are a correct reflection of what a lousy president he is, because you can't lie your way out of that one. You can lie your way out, and they did for a very long time out of Ukraine. You can lie your way out of China. You can lie your way out of a lot of stuff, particularly if people are willing to act like jerks and accept completely illogical nonsense. But you can't lie about it's costing me more for food than it used to cost me. Biden has reduced the budget deficit by $1.7 billion. Over the past 12 months, the budget deficit has exceeded a record $2 trillion. Higher, it's $8 trillion higher than when Trump left office. Another flat out lie. Gas price, and this is the best one of all. Gas prices have fallen under Biden. No, they haven't. They've gone up. Gas prices have fallen from the record that Biden set for high gas prices. They are 60% higher than when Trump was in office. So he brought down the incredibly high price that was being charged of over $5 a gallon. He brought it down to what is now $3.39 a gallon. Under Trump, the highest was $2.49 a gallon. So and it's going up again. Good chance that by beginning of next year, it'll be at $4 a gallon. But in any event, it's a complete lie when he says they've fallen under Biden. He's playing the game that the Democrats play with you all the time. Deception. Why do you fall for it? Why do you fall for it? So this is why, if you look at this and you look at this article in the Post, this is why there's a resistance to this ridiculous Bidenomics message. And this is, I mean, sometimes these people, these crooks in the Democratic Party are pretty slick politicians, but this is stupid because here you can't lie your way out of it because the media can't help you. The media can't tell people they're actually paying less than they are for food. They try if they could. They try if they could. They would say, you really didn't pay $50 for that bag of groceries. You actually paid the same $30 you paid when Trump was in office. You just think you paid $50 because that's what they do with everything else. That's the equivalent of what they did with Biden's bribery for years. They knew about it. I proved it 3 years ago. They know it's true. They're really not stupid. They really don't think that China gave this money to a drug addict for no reason, just because they like him buying drugs. They're making plenty on other people from drugs. They don't need him. Well, what's going to happen with this case? What do you think? The one in, you think there'll be another one? Didn't the governor of Arizona say that she wants to bring a case now? But she's no longer the attorney general. I didn't think governors brought cases.
Yeah, well, but it exposes what this is really all about. On one level, it's really about this sick, narcissistic, right? Like 15 minutes of fame. I'm taking on a president type of. I get that vibe from a lot of these cases, and a lot. On the other part of it is just they're tools of this Democrat Party, and that's now in reality a communist party that silences dissent and is literally looking to lock up their biggest and most, the biggest threat to their position of power. This is what they do in communist countries, right?
They are following the Marx formula, how you take over a government almost to the letter. Almost to the letter. And I realized that about 4 years ago, 5 years ago in their policy positions, because they've been for open borders before Biden. And they've been perverting our schools for 30 years.
Yeah.
Now it's getting to be real perversion. I mean, they used to do ideological perversion. Now they're convincing kids they should change their sex.
Now they're just blatant about it.
Yeah, I mean, that is, I mean, it's almost hard to describe how wrong it is. You know, as a Catholic, I would say it's a mortal sin. But I mean, it's no longer just criminal, and it's like not even immoral. It's like beyond immoral.
Well, Mayor, I mean, the New York public school system now is using my tax dollars, your tax dollars, to have drag queen story times for children in New York City public schools. I didn't say they can use
They
my
actually
tax-
fired teachers who objected to it.
Right. Sickening.
They want to make everybody like Nazi prison guards that just have to put their heads down
Phone's ringing.
and do what the apparatchiks tell them to do.
It's Orwell.
Oh, here it is, like the Ministry of Truth.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, the Ministry of Truth.
Yeah, it's sick.
You know what they did? What in 1984, the name of their defense department, their military was the Ministry of Peace.
Oxymoron.
Which, by the way,
Double talk.
was very brilliant of Orwell, because almost from the very beginning, the Soviet communists and then the Chinese communists supported all the peace movements.
Mhm.
Because particularly when they weren't ready for war with us, they wanted peace.
Mm.
And they wanted us to remain at peace while they built up militarily. And this goes back to like the 1930s. All the peace movements were supported by the communists. Big time, big money. Against the Vietnam War, the rallies, communists involved in all of that. Jimmy knows the chapter and verse.
Whoa. Does he ever?
So tomorrow we'll be back. We'll have a wrap up for the week. We will we'll figure out what damage the nitwit does. We'll see what happens. He's gonna have to take a little time off he had a full week of vacation next week because he was back at work for 2 days.
Very tired.
Oh, it must have been awful. I mean, wasn't he just on the beach?
He goes to his Delaware beach house every weekend. How tired can this guy
See,
be?
he was at the beach. See him there at the beach.
Listen, Mayor, I know Trump's people said Trump golfed a lot, whatever, but Trump was always working when he was golfing. He wasn't relaxing. He was
No,
doing-
Trump
It's-
would work before golf,
Right,
after
right,
golf.
Right.
I know his schedule. I knew
Right.
I also knew whenever he played golf on weekends, then when he would come back, he'd get all these ideas from his friends, and he would tell me, you and Sekulow aren't tough enough because Max told him we should do something, or somebody else. And but I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would go see him at 1 PM on Sunday, and then we work all day after he finished playing golf.
Mhm.
And now I'm not just talking about being his lawyer. I'm talking about when he was running for office and getting ready for debates and getting ready for. I mean, the guy is a workaholic. He's on the phone constantly, getting advice from people. You think you think a lot of people think he's like unpersuadable. It's just the opposite. If 2 or 3 of you call me, let's say he was president, when he was president, or God willing, when he becomes president, and you say, "Oh, I want to go meet him," and we could arrange the meeting. He would very likely ask your advice, even if he didn't know you.
Mm.
I'd say, "I'd like to introduce you to Jim and Mary. They're big fans. They just wanted to take a picture with you, Mr. President." He would, I mean, sometimes he'd just take a picture because he's busy. But a lot of times he's, "Oh, sit down. You know, I got this issue with that Iran deal. And what do you think of that Iran deal that Obama?" And he'd listen to you.
You gotta love that. You gotta love that.
And people would make fun of him for it. But I used to do that. When I was mayor, I would go to diners, and I'd sit there and have people come over, and I'd ask them, what do you think of my workfare program?
Mm.
The New York Times says I'm a slave master. I'm like a slave master or a Nazi. What do you think? Oh, it's the greatest thing in the world. The best thing to get everybody out of this problem is the work ethic. I think it's great. I think it's terrific. Well, some people would say, no, I think it's a little too harsh. That's what you're supposed to do. But in order to do that, you have to be intelligent.
You have to care about the people.
Yeah, they don't give a damn about the people. They wouldn't let this happen to them. I can tell you, I know they don't care about the people. You could not abide this man being in the White House, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you cared about the American people. You would not let a guy go back every night to the White House with that little button right next to him who's basically out of his mind.
He doesn't care about his own kids.
Well, okay. Thank you for listening in. We're getting record numbers, I should tell you. I think we had a couple where we hit 1 million. We don't always hit 1 million, but now we're hitting well over 500,000 and sometimes 1 million. We're doing better than CNN. Oh gosh, why? That's a hell of a target. I feel bad now for clapping. It's like being a failure doing better than CNN.
Don't sell yourself short, man. You're doing better than some programs on Fox News.
I don't know about that.
I mean, I would say so.
Well, we might have a better show, but I don't know that we're doing better. I mean, Fox News now, you can't count on them anymore.
No.
You can't count on them to not be involved in some kind of shenanigans. You can't count on Newsmax more and OAN, which you can't get in New York. I can get it because I have
And I'm going to have it
QUX.
QUX.
Yes.
You can get OAN.
That's right.
I
It'll
can't
give
wait.
you 2 alternatives,
Beautiful.
Newsmax and OAN, and me.
That's right. The 3 top news channels. There you go. Real news. Real news, Mayor. Real raw news.
All right. Well, thank you, America. Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.